in this video, we're going to talk about percent of change. And we use percent of change because sometimes we need to figure out why two things have changed and the percentage of the difference between them. We just need to know the change in value. Sometimes it's between prices, or maybe we've altered recipe and we want to know the percent of change in size in the original and the new. Or maybe a change in speed from one car to another. But in any case, we have a specific formula that we use. We use the new value minus the old divided by the old. So for percent of change, you need to remember this. And I know sometimes even at home, when my husband is trying to figure out, he's in sales, and when he's trying to figure out differences in prices, he can't ever remember this. So if you'll just remember this, and I always say N minus O over O, that's your formula. So N minus O over O, that's what you need to go with. Then after solving, you can decide, was it a percent increase or a percent decrease? And really, you can look at it sometimes beforehand and know. But your answer, if it's a percent increase, will be positive, and if it's a percent decrease, it's going to be negative. And that's how you'll know if it was an increase or decrease. So let's do some examples of percent of change. Remember, N minus O over O. That's our formula here, N minus O over O. So here, for number one, we're going, this one's obviously in price, we're going to go from $9.25 to $6.50. So if we're going from $9.25 to $6.50, this would be our, whoops, and I just wrote it backwards. So this would be our new, this would be our old. So we would go this over old. And I may have just told you misinformation. So new minus old over old. So we would do 650 minus 925. You're going to get a negative. Oh, so my words were wrong. Divided by 925. So did we decrease or increase? Because now our answer here is going to be negative 0.297. Now let's make it a increase. Make it a percent. No, I was right. So this becomes negative 29.7. So did we decrease or increase? We decreased by 29.7%. So we had from our new to our old, we decreased. Okay? What about from this? We went from 457 to 1,000. So we're going to do new minus old. 1,000 to, or minus 457 over 457. Whoops, 7. So if I do 1,000 minus 457 divided by 457, I get 1.118. So I will move that over. I got this. Now I got to move it over. So I get 118%. So this time it was a positive. So this is definitely a percent increase. So this is a percent decrease. This is going to be a percent increase for sure, which you should have been able to look at both of these. I went down here. I went up here for sure. What about here? I'm starting at 10. My old is 10. My new is 2. So I'm going to do new minus old over old. You should be able to guess if that's going to be a decrease or increase. Whoops. So my answer when I do this is negative 0.8. Move it over. So I've got negative 80% decrease. And now what about my last one? I'm going from 8 to 45. So new minus old over old. 45 minus 8 then I'm going to divide it by 8. So I get, my answer is 4.625, move my decimal over, so I get 462.5%. Well, that's definitely an increase. So when I'm looking at percent of change, again, I want to remember this formula, and then I know my increases and decreases based on if it's positive or negative. And again, this is something we can use when we're looking for changes, whether it's in prices, if we're shopping, or if it's in recipe size, if it's in speed. We could use this in a whole lot of places. But most importantly, remember that formula so that when we're talking about change, you know when to apply it.